again, we all heard Victor earlier, and this guy's been rocking with us for a few years now. And he's got a lot of wisdom. He's been to a lot of events. He's certified with Jack Canfield as a trainer with Jack Canfield. Anybody know who Jack Canfield is?
Yes.
All right. So he's a certified trainer. He's got a lot more accomplishments aside of that. We speak every week. He's a great student and coach to others. So without further ado, again, I'm going to give Victor his time. So if we can all kind of just focus in and give him the time that we've given the other speakers thus far. Give it up for Victor Dedaj. All right,
thank you, Jermaine. All right, so I do agree with everything you're saying. Mindset is one of the most important things, actually the most important thing if you want to be successful. Because if you know the technical stuff, but you don't have the mindset or the belief, you're not going to take action to get that success. Think of it this way. Everyone knows what to do to lose weight, right? You eat better, you exercise, you cut down the crappy food. But those who want to lose weight, do they always do it?
No.
No. Why? A big reason is mindset. So it's not enough to know what to do. You need to have that belief. And many of us, unfortunately, have limiting beliefs. Very often it comes from our childhood. Unfortunately, sometimes our parents don't always do the best jobs. They say things to us that make us not feel good about ourselves or not believe in ourselves. Sometimes it comes from our teachers, from the people around us, from the organizations we belong to. And as a result, over the course of many years, we have limited beliefs about ourselves. And very often they're unconscious, so we're not even aware of it. And as a result of that, because we don't have that belief in ourselves, we don't believe we can succeed in it, we don't take the action necessary to succeed. So that's why it is very important to work on that mindset. And you need to work on it consistently. Because think of it this way. What do you really need to do to be negative, to have a negative life? Do you really need to do a lot? No, you don't. There's negativity all around. If you think about it, if you don't focus on positive thoughts, negative thoughts are going to creep in. You can think of it this way. When you have a garden, do you have to do anything to let weeds grow? No. If you leave the garden alone, you don't do anything, you don't water it, you don't nurture it, you don't take care of it, you leave that garden alone, eventually weeds are going to grow. If you want to prevent the weeds from coming into your garden, you got to nurture it, you got to take care of it, you got to water it, you got to look after it on a daily basis. And you have to do the same thing with your mind. You have to nurture your mind, you have to take care of it, you got to feed it with positive thoughts. You got to do it consistently day in and day out, because if you stop doing it for a few weeks, all kinds of negative thoughts are going to come in. So that's why it's very important, number one, to feed your mind positive thoughts. Surround yourself with people who are positive. Very often, one issue many of us have is that we're surrounded by negative people. And what are they doing? They're bringing us down. They're telling us, you can't do that, you can't do that. Oh, you want to be a millionaire, you want to be an astronaut, you want to be what this or that. And when you tell them, they say, be realistic. And because we listen very often to our friends, we try to be realistic and we don't shoot for our dreams. And very often what happens, later on, as we get older, we have a lot of regrets because we didn't take those chances. There's a saying that the pain of discipline weighs ounces, but the pain of regret weighs tons. And when you don't take those chances, you're going to have many regrets. So it's very important to surround yourself with positive, successful people. Jim Rohn said you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And if you look at your friends, are they successful? Are they positive? Do they support you? And if they don't, then you need to get a new set of friends. That's why I come to a lot of events. Jermaine mentioned, I've been to numerous events because I want to feed off the energy of all these successful people that are here at this event and many other events that I've gone to, because I know I'm going to be a changed person when I come back from that event, because I'm going to learn something there. I'm going to learn a lot of great things. I'm going to get a lot of positive energy from these people, and I'm going to develop a lot of great relationships. So when I get a chance, I try to go to as many of these events as possible. And you talk to the most successful people here, they will all tell you the same thing. Go to as many events as possible. Surround yourself with successful people, because you are who you hang out with. And so go to as many events as possible. So I'm going to share some things that I think will be very helpful in leading a successful life. The first thing I would recommend is you need to take 100% responsibility. If you ever listen to a 6, 7, or 8-figure person speak, you never hear them blaming other people for their problems. They always take 100% responsibility for their lives. If something goes wrong, they try to look at the role they played in. They say, what did I do wrong? How can I make this better? They don't blame the weather. They don't blame the government. They don't blame the president, the governor, their spouse, their children, their brothers and sisters. They take responsibility for everything that happens for them. And when you do that, you become more powerful. You become more solution-oriented. When you don't take 100% responsibility, guess what happens? You don't focus on the solution. You don't try to take care. You expect someone else to take care of the problem. You expect someone else to help you. And very often, nothing gets done. You weaken yourself. And as a result, you do not have a more successful life. So you need to take 100% responsibility. And we've all done that. How many of you have had a point in your life where you did not take 100% responsibility? You blame other people for your problems. Pretty much everyone in this room. I've done it too. You know, when I worked in the corporate world for many years, if I didn't get the raise or the promotion I wanted, I blamed my boss's boss, or I blamed their boss's boss. I blamed, you know, favoritism, nepotism. But I never looked at the part I played. And I remember a few years ago, when I was still working in the corporate world, I got my annual review. And they wrote a lot of good things. They said Victor has a pleasant attitude, he does great work, everyone loves working with him. One area for improvement is, when Victor runs the reports, we'd like him to sometimes write additional commentary for us. What I was doing was, I was just doing what they told me to do. I was not giving them any extra value. My belief was, when they gave me the extra money, I will do the extra work. What I did not understand was, I needed to do the extra work to get the extra money. I was not giving them the extra value. And because of that, I didn't get those raises and promotions. And that was my flaw. So when I became an entrepreneur, I had to change my focus because I realized you need to give people more value. If you give people more value, you will get more money, you will get more success. But you got to focus on delivering that value. And if you don't, you're not going to get the extra money, and you can't blame anyone for that if it doesn't happen for you. You need to over-deliver, take 100% responsibility, and that's one thing I've learned. And now I focus on trying to help people out, give that extra value, and every successful person in this room does the exact same thing. They try to over-deliver, and because of that, they're more successful. The other thing I recommend is you need to be consistent, day in and day out. Lots of people love to be successful. Lots of people are in love with the idea of success, but they don't do the things they need to become successful. When you tell them all the things they need to do, they're like, oh, okay. So they might work hard for 2 or 3 days, and they're like, oh, this is too hard. Then they go back to the old lifestyle, and they're wondering, you know, why hasn't my life changed? You have to make that sacrifice. You have to do that daily discipline. You have to pay the price. You have to have a long-term perspective on these things, because if you don't get results in a week or two, and you have a short-term perspective, you're going to give up. And the thing is, if you give up too quickly, you're going to give up on success. You're going to give up on all your dreams. And that's unfortunate what a lot of people do. They'll try something for a week or two and they give up. But they're not consistent with it. They just try it for a few days and they say, this doesn't work, it's a scam. But those that succeed are the ones that they do not give up. They work harder for many months, for many years. You may not get the results immediately. Some people take them 3, 4, 5, some people take them 10 years before they really hit it big. But they're willing to pay the price. What you have to realize is that success is not built in a day. It is built daily. And if you're consistent in it, you'll get those results. If you look at the bamboo tree, it spends its first 4 years growing underground. It does not grow above the ground. All of a sudden, in the 5th year, it sprouts 90 feet. Now, did it grow 90 feet in one day? No, it took 5 years because it had to be watered, it had to be nurtured, it had to be taken care of. But you had to wait 5 years before you get that great growth. So sometimes you may need to wait a little while, and you need to have a long-term perspective. Unfortunately, very often in this day and age, a lot of people fall prey to instant gratification. They want to see results yesterday, and when they don't get them, they just give up. People will join a network marketing company. They're in there for 1 or 2 weeks, they don't make a sale, they say, I give up, I can't do it, it's a scam, and they give up. But what they don't realize is there are dozens of other people making money. What's the difference? Those people did not give up. they developed themselves. They worked at it. They were consistent in everything that they do. So if you're consistent, you will get results.
Yes.
Absolutely. Personal development is extremely important. Jim Rohn used to say, work harder on yourself than on your job. He said, if you work hard on yourself, if you work hard on your job, you can make a living. But if you work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune. And when you really develop yourself, working it day in, day out, reading those books, going through the trainings, listening to videos, you'll have $1 million mindset. So you may be successful in a company, it may go under, but guess what? You have the talents to take it elsewhere and be successful in another company, or you can start your own coaching program. You can start your own company. When you have that kind of development, great things are possible with you. So you need to work on it day in and day out. So consistency is extremely important. And again, be persistent. Don't give up. Many people give up right before they're going to have that success. Those that are persistent, never give up, they're going to get great results. They're the ones that said, you know, I doubted myself for a while. It seemed really hard, but I knew this was my dream. I really wanted to make it work for me and for my family. And they kept pursuing. They didn't give up. And because they didn't give up, they have the lifestyle that many people envy because they never gave up. Some of the other things I recommend doing, you need to be focused. Focus on one thing at a time. Do not join 5 companies when you're starting off. If you do, you're going to make money in none of them because you're going to be paralyzed. You won't know which company to work on each different day. You're like, should I work on company A, company B, company C? You're going to have multiple streams of debt instead of multiple streams of income. Focus on one thing at a time. Get successful in it, then you can add a second stream. Multiple streams of income are possible, but you got to do it one company at a time. Be very focused because when you try to do 10 different things at once, you won't be as productive. When you try to do 5 tasks at once, you just won't get them done. If you do it one task at a time, studies show you'll be up to 500% more productive when you do it one task at a time. And the same thing applies when you do it one company at a time. So focus is extremely important. And just model what other successful people do. There's a saying, success leaves clues. Learn what other successful people have done. They've been doing it for hundreds of years. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. You can do your own little tweaking, but see what other people have done. And a great thing to do is to get a mentor. Have a mentor teach you. Mentors have been doing it for years. They've learned everything they need to do to become successful. They've made the mistakes and they can help you avoid those mistakes. When you try to do it on your own, you're going to make so many mistakes because, especially if you're trying something new, you're just going to make a lot of mistakes because you don't know what to do. A mentor will tell you, do this, do that, avoid doing this, and they're going to save you a lot of time and trouble. Invest in a mentor. And invest in yourself. The best investment you can make is in yourself. The more you invest in yourself, you can think of it this way. It's like investing in a stock. You invest in a stock that you think is good. If you don't invest in that stock, you probably think it's not good. So when you don't invest in yourself, you're subconsciously saying to yourself, I'm not worth investing in. But if you invest in yourself, you invest in your trainings, your personal development, you're subconsciously saying to yourself, I'm worth investing in. So try to invest in yourself because it'll be the best investment you'll ever make. And so I mentioned consistency, productivity, and here's the thing. Don't let other people stop you from living your dreams. Very often when people tell us don't do it, it stops us from taking action. But a lot of times if you just take action, you will achieve great things. There's a story of a guy named George Danzig. He was late for his statistics class. This was about 60, 70 years ago. And he saw 2 problems on the board, so he figured they were homework problems. So he wrote the problems, he worked on it over the course of a weekend, and he spent like 3 days, and he finally submitted. He said to the professor, I'm sorry I was late with this, but I finally figured out the problems. A few days later, the professor comes to visit his house and says, this is incredible. You solved 2 problems that were unsolvable. And George Danzig said, really? He had no idea. He said, I just thought they were homework problems, which is why I worked on it. What happened was no one had told him that he could not solve the problem because he was late for the class. None of the other students bothered working on the problems because they were supposedly unsolvable. And George said, if I had known those problems were unsolvable, I would not have worked on it. So think about it this way. If no one told you you can't do it and you believe you're capable of doing it, what kinds of things could you accomplish with your life? So that's why belief in yourself is incredibly important, because you can accomplish many great things. Another thing I recommend doing is take action. A lot of times people procrastinate on doing things. Sometimes they let fear get the best of them because they're fearful something will happen. But you need to just take action. Don't wait on it. A lot of people say, well, when the kids go to college, when they graduate, when this happens, when things get better at work, I'll start working on these things. Just start taking action now, because when you start taking action, good things happen. And I would recommend just ask what you want. Don't be afraid to ask, because the worst that can happen is the person says no. But if you ask them, they might say yes. How many times have you gone up to someone and you wanted to ask them something, but you never did? And then you wonder, maybe they might have said yes. I know when I was younger, there were some girls I didn't ask out because I was afraid to ask them. I found out later that some of them would have said yes if I had asked them. You can imagine how I felt. I felt like an idiot. I should have just asked. The worst they could say is no.
Yep.
But what happens? Many of us fear rejection. Why do we fear rejection?
Because you don't want to get hurt. Or
You don't want to get hurt, yes.
It's painful.
It's painful, yeah.
And a reminder,
Yeah.
well, not really the truth, but a suggestion that you're not good enough to accomplish that.
Right. You don't feel you're good enough. You're fearful. You might think you lose something. Here's the thing. When you ask someone, and even if they say no, rejection is really a myth when you think about it, because you really don't lose anything. Like, if I have no one to have dinner with, and I ask some girl to have dinner with me, if she says yes, I have someone to have dinner with me. If she says no, I had no one to have dinner with me before I asked her, and I have no one to have dinner with me after I asked her. I didn't lose anything. It's only a problem if I start saying to myself, Mom was right, no girl will ever like me. But you don't lose anything if someone says no. Or maybe you want to recruit someone for your company. Again, if you have no one joining your company, if you ask someone, if they say yes, you have a new person in your company. If they say no, you have no one in your company, and after they say no, you still have no one in your company. You don't lose. So just realize rejection is just a myth. And don't let fear get the best of you. Very often, most of the things we fear, they never come to pass. Fear stands for false evidence appearing real. When you think about most of the things you feared in your life, they never came to pass. I know when I was in high school, I feared if I did badly on the exam, my life was ruined. I would never get into college. Guess what? I took the exam, and no matter what happened, I moved on. I went to college, I got a job, had a good, normal life. But you fear these things, and the truth is, what a lot of people don't realize is that all fears are learned. You're only born with two fears: the fear of loud noises and the fear of falling. Everything else is learned. And when you realize that most of your fears are not real, you'll learn. You should just take action. Taking action is the best way to overcome those fears. I learned that when I went to a Tony Robbins event several years ago, and we did the fire walk.
Yeah.
And he got us into this state of being. He made us realize that don't focus on your fear, focus on your goal. So as we were walking through those burning coals, guess what? He told us, don't look at the coals. Look at the people in front of you cheering you on. So when I went through those coals, I was looking at the people going, yes, yes, yes. So I looked at them, I walked through the coals in a few seconds, nothing happened to me. And 99% of people who walk through those burning coals do not burn themselves. The few people that do, they're the ones that look at the coals. If you focus on the things that you fear, that's what you will attract. If you focus on what you want, that's what you get. So focus on the things you want, not on the things you don't want. Because what you focus on expands. Thank you very much.
Yay.